BBC's Sherlock is an excellent modern adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes story, but don't sleep on Elementary, which is actually an even better interpretation of the famous tale. There have been a lot of recent adaptations of Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes story, with Sherlock as one of the most recognizable. The series is set in modern-day London, where Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch, solves crimes alongside his partner, Dr. John Watson, Martin Freeman. It's an interesting take on the character with its idea of a famous Holmes, but Elementary is a stronger series overall and takes the story in an interesting direction. Elementary's Sherlock Holmes was an inspired new take on the character. Lucy Liu as Joan Watson looking concerned in Elementary. In Elementary, a title that comes from Sherlock Holmes' oft-repeated, though misquoted, line, "It's elementary, my dear Watson." The series is also set in the modern day, but moves the action to New York City. The talented but troubled Sherlock Holmes, Johnny Lee Miller, has been sent there by his father. Holmes is assigned a sober monitor, Dr. Joan Watson, Lucy Liu, a former surgeon. Holmes decides to begin detective work again as a way to stay sober, obliging Watson to come along, and together, they realize they are quite a team. It's an inspired take on the characters, with Watson, for once, being the teacher. How Johnny Lee Miller's Sherlock was different from Benedict Cumberbatch's. Sherlock Holmes, Johnny Lee Miller, looking thoughtful as Sherlock Holmes in Elementary. The Sherlock Holmes we find in Elementary is a much different character from the one we find in Sherlock. Benedict Cumberbatch's take on Sherlock Holmes makes him into a charismatic, but unknowable, genius. He operates at such a high level that he can struggle to form connections with people. Johnny Lee Miller's Sherlock Holmes is a much more relatable figure. He's a failure, a wayward son, and a bit blunt. However, he's also funny, sweet, and insightful. He's cool, in short. Elementary's characters are cool, which actually brings them a bit closer to the way Doyle wrote them originally. Sherlock and Elementary were both essential for the 2010s Sherlock Renaissance. Elementary Joan Watson, Lucy Liu, and Sherlock Holmes, Johnny Lee Miller, sitting next to one another. Sherlock ran for 4 seasons while Elementary ran for 7 seasons, and they premiered in 2010 and 2012, respectively. It was in this decade that the story suddenly had something of a renaissance. Sherlock Holmes was on the big screen with Robert Downey Jr., and then it was on the small screen. For a long time, Sherlock Holmes was considered something of a stuffy story. With the popularity of these two shows, it was suddenly clear that the story, and maybe the detective genre in general, still had a lot of legs. So go watch Elementary and see what all the hype is about.